Hey YouTube, how you guys doing? My name is Kyle, you know me as Dragonmar, and welcome to a new video. Today we're going to be talking about 10 signs that you're playing a duelist wrong. You guys really liked the first video about signs that your aim is holding you back. Well, let's talk about a position, a role, and the role of a duelist or an entry fragger, and let's talk about things that you might be doing that you don't realize that are holding you back and would actually make you a bad duelist. Now, remember, do not feel bad if you get called out in this video. Just know that those are things you can improve on. I'd love to hear as well in the comments what categories you guys fall into. I'm really curious to see how many of you guys see yourself in this video, because I definitely see myself in some of these. That's for sure. I have things to work on too. If you guys enjoy the video, make sure to leave a like, comment, subscribe, tap that bell. And I just want to give a quick shout out to everyone over on Twitch who's been watching, twitch.tv/Dragonmar. Really appreciate you guys. Stream there all the time. Gonna be streaming a lot more in January. And before the video starts, I just want to say once again, with any type of video like this, don't think that like I'm calling you out or that you're a bad player. We all make mistakes, and the goal of this video, my goal with any type of video like this, is to always help you think, make you think about the things you're doing wrong so that you can fix them, right? This isn't just to make fun of people. No, I want you guys to get better, and the best way to do that is with self-reflection and to look at what you're doing wrong and fix those mistakes. I'm going to be explaining exactly why I think these are bad things as well, so I'm giving you reasons, not just calling you out, and I hope you guys enjoy. All right, up first, sign number 1 is that every flash you use is for yourself. So this is something that may not come across quite as clear to everybody, but the idea that just because they're your flashes, they're only for you, is a big problem with duelists. And most of the time when people do this, it's because they play a very selfish, very non-team oriented style of play. Generally, they're also too aggressive, but this really is for the people out there who never flash for your team. And the reason that this is bad is because sometimes this means that you're holding on to flashes till the end of rounds when you could have used them to help your teammates. Oftentimes when we go for the initial peak on a duelist, we actually get the kill, but we'll lose a ton of health. If we don't have a healer, peaking on 20 health is pretty risky, but you've got teammates, and that's where these flashes come up big. So if you are playing Jett or Raze, sorry, you're out of luck here, but the Phoenix and Reyna duelists out there, especially Reyna, your Lear is so good for your team. Make sure you're using it more. If you do not even think about the flash as something for your teammates at all, trust me, you are playing duelists wrong. All right, so sign number 2 is that you never are getting the first blood. You're never getting the first kill of the round. First bloods are often an overlooked kill, I think, for a lot of players. Oftentimes, people will just look on the scoreboard and look at the kills column and just see, okay, how many total kills? But remember, not all kills are created equal. This is something I've preached about for a very long time in pretty much every game I play. The opening pick in Overwatch or Counter-Strike are just as equally important. First blood is essentially the biggest advantage you can give your team to start a round, and it is so important, which is why eco frags tend to be less important. Or if you win, let's say you're in a 5v2, right, post plant, you've planted the bomb, you go hunt the last 2 guys. Those last 2 guys are not worth as much as the first kill of the round. Absolutely not. So it's really important that if you guys are playing duelists and you're losing a lot of your games or you're losing a lot of rounds, make sure you're checking that first blood column. See how often you're pushing yourself forward, getting those first kills and setting your team up to win the rounds. Because oftentimes when you're having a game and you can't figure out why you won, even though you have a lot of kills, check that first blood column. Chances are you're going to see a big fat 0 or a 1 in there. And let me tell you, that is just not enough. All right, so sticking on the scoreboard, sign number 3 is you are overly obsessed with kills to determine how much you're contributing. This is the sign of a very selfish player. This is the sign of somebody who does not understand what the actual role of a duelist is. And thankfully, I'm here to explain. In my opinion, a duelist is not just someone who should have the most kills in a game, but also somebody who has the opportunity to create the most space Yes, it sounds like I'm talking about tanks in Overwatch right now, but duelists are ideal for creating space. Essentially, you want your smokes to be down from whoever's smoking on your team, most likely an Omen, but after that, it is your job to take control of the map, to get that control, to clear out the angles and take sites. It is your job because you are the one best equipped with your flashes and your movement abilities. Other classes don't have a lot of these perks, and that's why it falls on you. So when I see duelists bragging about having 30 kills in a game, still losing and blaming their teammates, oftentimes these players are not the ones creating space. And yeah, they might be getting a lot of kills, but they're never actually going in to secure sites and help the team. They're just looking for kills. And this is a playstyle of duelist that is going to get people nowhere. And at a certain point, it just stops working and they're going to hit a brick wall and you're never, ever going to rank up. Very important to understand that you need to be creating space as a duelist. It is essential. Sign number 4 is that you are often the third or fourth player into sites. This is kind of following up off what I was just talking about looking for only kills. Remember, duelists are generally the entry fragging role. Why? You have flashes. Come on, that's obvious. Or you've got movement abilities like with Jett and Raze. Those are what help you lead into sight. Other players, for example, Sova, or maybe even Omens or Brims or Vipers or your Sentinels, they do not have these quick flashes that can just be, popped really quick, or they don't have those fast movement abilities. Everything takes time with them, right? So you don't want them to go in first. You want them to follow you in. If you are somebody who sees yourself as the third or fourth person in, or even last into sites, as a duelist, you really want to rethink your role and try to figure out if playing a duelist is right for you. Generally speaking, you should be one of the first, if not the first person in every single time you're attacking, and you should be using those flashes to support not just yourself, but your team, as I mentioned earlier. It is incredibly important that the duelist is the player who is going in first and getting traded. You want that flash to be used. You don't want them to be holding on to it behind your team, because guess what? If you're going in third or fourth and you're flashing, you're probably flashing your teammates as well, and that is no good. And now we're getting into probably one of the biggest things that I look at in my coaching and my VOD reviews, positioning. And in particular, sign number 5 is that you're never getting traded. This is something you see people complain about on the forums, on streams, on wherever, right? Hey, my team doesn't trade me. My team sucks. Or, hey, I went here, I pushed, nobody traded my death. Like, what's going on? Where are you guys? Well, if this is you, if you find that your death is never getting traded out for a kill onto the enemy, we got to start looking in the mirror. We got to start looking within here. Because generally speaking, this is a problem with your positioning. Yes, your positioning. Remember, at the end of the day, the only person that you can control is yourself. You are not playing StarCraft. Your teammates are not units. You can only control yourself. And because of that, when you are out of position and not getting traded, that is on you, not your team. Why? Because just because you said you were doing something, your team didn't come. You know your team didn't come. You have eyes. You can see the mini-map. If no one's near you to trade, why are you still going for those plays? Remember, guys, you can pretty much do everything right up until that point, but the second you decide to swing a corner without a teammate and expect a trade, you are a lost cause. You know where your teammates are. You know what you've asked for. You know they should be there. You wish they were there. I wish they were there. I wish everyone listened. But sometimes people don't. And because of that, it is on you ultimately to make the right choice. And sometimes the right choice is to be patient and wait for a better opportunity. If you find that you are not getting traded, sometimes it is on you for being too aggressive and not on your team. Also, a lot of times people are just trying to get to you and and the duelist goes too early. That's a big one as well. Slow it down, guys. What's the rush all the time? Everyone's always in a rush. You got a date or something? I don't think so. We're playing Valorant. Anyways, yeah, if you guys are never getting traded, man, this is a huge one. Got to work on that positioning, because I can almost guarantee that is your problem. Sign number 6 is about a mindset. And that mindset is you think carry or lose is true. This is the mindset that you're just because you're playing a duelist, you have to carry every game or you're going to lose it. And this is kind of a really toxic mindset to have, because what ends up happening is you end up putting too much pressure on yourself. This is probably going to go a different way than you guys thought I was going to go with this one. But what ends up happening is that you are so focused on carrying that you actually start making bad plays. And what will happen is you'll have a good player, a good solid player, who is forcing themselves into uncomfortable positions, bad retakes, or really aggressive flanks or pushes or whatever. And it does not fit who they are, and they just end up dying and losing over and over because they feel like if they're not carrying, if they're not just absolutely dominating early round every single round, that they're going to lose the game. And this gets you into one of those sort of ruts where over and over and over, you're the first one dead, you're not getting kills, and your team's probably gonna be pretty mad at you, which in turn, you know, that's a vicious cycle. Let's not get into that. But this is a really bad mindset to have if you're playing a duelist. Remember, you do not have to force things, right? You do not have to force things, because when you start forcing things, that's when you start making mistakes. It's very important that when you're playing duelists, you remember, you do not have to carry. You just have to do your job. And your job is mainly to be the entry fragger on attack and to create that space and get a hold of those sites. But your job is very different on defense, and you do not need to be getting aggressive every round. That is not how you play a duelist properly. Sign number 7. Oh, I really hope you guys listen to this one. You're constantly asking for buys. Have you ever thought about maybe why that is? Have you ever just taken a second to be like, man, I've asked for a buy almost every round here. I wonder what's going on. There's a few things. First, you're probably being over aggressive. This is a really, really big sign that somebody is pushing too much, like I was just talking about. Constantly needing a buy means most likely you're dying in situations where maybe you could have lived, especially if your team is able to afford to buy you. On top of that, this is also a big sign of some economy problems. Potentially you're forcing too often. A lot of duelists will feel like I just said in the previous tip, carry or lose, that they have to force. They have to get rifles. They have to get SMGs, sheriffs, regardless, every single round. Because if they're not carrying, they're not winning games. That is not true. Once again, you're going to have to ask for buys constantly. If you are a player like this, you're a burden to your team. You are a burden. Do not be a burden. Play with your team. Make sure you're saving with your team. Make sure your aggression and your forcing habits are in line with your team, right? This is a team game, guys. You're not winning this alone. Not often enough to see a big difference in your rank. If you truly care about ranking up, you have to play together. And if you are somebody who constantly asks for buys, that means most likely you got to tone down that aggression because it is not helping you. And getting into sign number 8, you are consistently losing attacking halves. Now, you might be thinking, what about defense halves? Well, see, duelists really shine on attack. And that is just because that's how their kits are, right? They're fast, you know, they are flashy. Good one. Sorry. But no, they really do shine on attack. And the thing with this is that if you find that you're losing attack halves often, you really got to look inwards, right? Because that does, unfortunately, generally come down to how the duelists are playing. I know you guys have probably looked on your leaderboards every now and then, the scoreboard in game. When you're having a bad attack half, you look at your duelists and you see some dude with about 2 kills in like 10 rounds. You're like, damn. And, you know, damn is right. That, unfortunately, is a big problem. Part of the reason that's a big problem is because, like I've been talking about in some of these other signs, the role of a duelist generally gets fulfilled in these rounds. So if you are somebody who loses attack rounds often, you have to start looking at yourself and figure out if this role is working for you, because those are your rounds. That is your time to shine. That is when duelists should be at their best. Now, of course, you got to work with your team still. You know, you've got to call for those smokes to help you and to gather information with your team, but attacking rounds are rounds that where you should find the most success as a duelist. So if you're not finding success in those rounds, you've really got to start thinking about why and figuring out if you are playing the role properly or if you're better off on a different agent or role. Sign number 9. This is a smaller one that's often overlooked, but it's that you never fight for orb control. Oftentimes, you'll see people just run mid on maps as duelists, like especially on Split or Ascent. Well, that's not Ascent, but you'll see people just run mid on Split a ton, or even on Haven, honestly. And the problem with this is that those are very far away from the ult orbs. And people still don't see the value in their ult orbs. They don't understand how important it is to be able to cycle your ult over and over and over every couple of rounds, especially on one of the most valuable ults in the game, and that, of course, is Phoenix. Being able to ult consistently with Phoenix, especially or particularly on attack, will greatly increase your chance of winning overall, and of course winning your attacking side. Remember, when you are playing a duelist, you have some of the strongest ults in the game. Maybe not really Reyna. Her ult's a little bit different in how I would classify it. But, you know, you've got Jett's knives, you've got Raze's rocket, and you've got Phoenix's essentially second life. I mean, those are some of the strongest ults in the game. So if you are a duelist who has never picked up an ult orb, man, it is time to look in the mirror. It is time to figure out what is going on and why you cannot play for those orbs. This is something I see all the time in VOD reviews, where somebody will be one point off an ult and have an opportunity to go get a free orb, and they never do it. And I just don't understand what's so important. Listen, guys, if you are not fighting for orbs, this obviously goes for everybody, but especially you duelists out there, make sure you guys are fighting for orbs more often and getting them for yourself. It is so good and can carry you through games. Sign number 10 is that you push on post plants when you're attacking, because it's not your job to guard the bomb. This is a sentiment a lot of people hold, and they'll often kind of put this role of defending the spike onto people like Sentinels and onto, you know, Omens and stuff and Sovas and whatever, because it's not their job. You hear this a lot, actually. I'm sure a lot of you guys in lower ranks have heard this. Let me know if you have, by the way. But this is a big problem with a lot of duelists, is that just because you've secured the site and you've done a good job already doing essentially your job, right? Securing site, gaining map control, maybe getting the entry frags, that doesn't mean your job is over. You can't just ignore some of the most important parts of the game. And of course, post plant is very important. So what ends up happening is the duelists will just push, and they'll push, and they'll push, and they'll push, and they won't stop. And then they'll just die, essentially for free, far away from the team, no trades, no nothing. Like I was talking about earlier, if you're not getting traded, it's a big problem, guys. We have to figure out what's going on. So if you are somebody who consistently pushes on post plant, we've got to think about what's going on, and you've got to tone it down, because post plant is the easiest thing to throw away. I have seen it happen so much. Just because you have the spike down does not mean you win. You still should stick with your team. You should still go for those trades. And if you have flashes left, perfect. That is so strong on post plant. Because a lot of times people won't expect that. They'll think the duelists have used them prior. So remember, guys, if you're playing duelist and you're playing post plant, do not just run into the enemy spawn looking for frags. Play with your team, play smart. And guys, that is going to do it for the 10 signs that you're playing a duelist wrong. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, make sure you leave a like, comment, subscribe, tap that bell. Thank you for all the support, and happy holidays, everybody. Hope you guys are going to have a good one and a happy new year. I'll, of course, have more videos coming out, so don't worry. You're going to be seeing more of me. I'll be seeing more of you, and I'm looking forward to that. With that being said, hopefully you guys have a great night, and I'll see you next time. Take it easy, and peace.